It's day 20 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and we have an update on whether or not the judge is going to declare a mistrial. Hint, we're still talking about it today. Not only that, more testimony is happening from Jane, victim 2, and this time it's from the defense team. The cross-examination of victim 2 happens today, and this is our daily update of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, day 20.
Here we go now.
Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. And don't forget, you can hear our Diddy updates along with additional content on the Kempire podcast. Subscribe today, and while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And you can check out everything that you may have missed in regards to the Diddy updates, including our extended versions there. Don't also forget, we have the Philly show coming up on July 10th. That is literally a month from today. For those that want to have an idea of what you will see at a Kempire After Dark show, it's a night of hot topics, Q&A, comedy, fun, all kinds of things. Don't forget, we're also coming to Atlanta on August 5th. Then we'll be in DC on August 22nd. And then we're back in New York City on September 12th. All shows will have meet and greets, but the New York City show will have not just a meet and greet, but also a live stream option. Get your tickets today so that you can get your access to our live show. Again, don't forget, Philly, you're up first. More information on all the shows will be available in the description. Let's get into this. So I originally was probably going to go live and just give you what I normally give you in these pre-recorded versions of our daily updates. But then I said, sometimes the chat can be distracting when I just want to get through the content. So already our hour to hour and a half daily updates and will turn into like a 3-hour one. So I will go live here and there like I did over the weekend when we were talking about the breaking news that the defense had filed a motion for a mistrial. We have an update on that because the judge has denied it, obviously. But you'll have an understanding because not only did he deny it, he did say that the prosecution did drop the ball. Okay. All right, let's get into this. And of course, as always, we'll be citing our sources. Again, I'm listening to so many different sources throughout the day, from attorneys to different news outlets to inner city press. And of course, I'm comparing. I was looking at CNN's daily updates in court, and they're great. However, I feel like there are certain little things that I'm loving about NBC News and how they're covering it. They're giving context. They're giving a little bit more information. Hence why when we're covering the witnesses, I'm also going back and reading the summary because I feel like sometimes there are elements that are missing from inner city press. And for those that wonder, one of the things that I learned is that only certain people are allowed to have phones in court. More than likely, certain media outlets and of course lawyers are only ones allowed to have their phones in court. So I want to go through this today slowly but surely. If you missed it, we did post another update in regards to some Tamar Braxton news and Portia news. Just in case you need a break from the Diddy of it all and you just want to hear something else, you can check out that video, and which was almost like 30 minutes because there's just so much to uncover. Let's first start off with a recap as to what happened yesterday. And shout out again to our friends over at NBC News. They say Jane returns to the stand today. They said one of Combs' former girlfriends, known only by the pseudonym Jane, is expected to return to court today for cross-examination. Jane is one of the 4 alleged victims at the center of the prosecution's racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking case against Combs. Her testimony is part of the government's effort to show that Combs orchestrated a sprawling criminal enterprise to, quote, fulfill his sexual desires. Reminder, and I said this multiple times in yesterday's video, do not speculate on the identity of Jane for a multitude of reasons. She's a victim. The court is also cracking down on media outlets, bloggers that are speculating on her identity. And for those that don't understand, when I say speculation includes insinuations of who it could be without naming the person. Let's not do that. A lot of this information is very obvious. If you want to speculate, go somewhere else and speculate. If you don't understand that, sorry. You're not going to do that in our chat, or you will get blocked. We could do that too, because if you continue to speculate either in the comment section or in the live chat, I will just block you. And it takes a lot to get blocked over here. But if you can't understand, then you just get blocked from the channel altogether because you refuse to understand what the word speculation means. Thank you. Let's get back into this. It was from yesterday. There were a few people having conversations. I want to be very clear, and I will remind you again in the middle of this video. Mods, please do the same. And let me know if there's someone that needs to get blocked that maybe I will miss it. Because a lot of times I'll upload this. I will be in and out the chat while doing other things because I've spent how many hours trying to do these videos for you guys. Let's move on. So on the stand yesterday, the witness's voice cracked as she told jurors about a night in 2023 when she said that she was instructed to meet Combs at the Trump International Hotel and Tower, New York, and directed to have sex with a male S-worker. Jane wiped away tears as she recalled telling Combs that she didn't want to have sex with other men anymore. Jane also sobbed as she recounted her reaction to Ventura's allegations against Combs. At one particular point, she said after reading Cassie's lawsuit, she almost passed out because she literally said that she felt like she was reading her own story. Jane also testified that she had unaliving ideations at the end of 2023 and told Combs that she'd unalive herself. In text messages, she told him that she believed that he used and break her, and she wrote to him that he was done with her. And she wrote to him that he was done with her and she wanted to not be here anymore. When prosecutor Maureen Comey asked why she sent the text, Jane cried so hard it was difficult to understand her answer. One of the things that we reported on yesterday as well was the fact that Jane would read during the direct examination from a notes app. In the notes app, she would write things that she was considering sending to Diddy. And I said it was almost like her diary. So the defense did not want this to be admissible in court. Based on the decision this morning, the judge says no, they will continue to include it. Because that was something that I questioned as well. Like, is this? Because I don't understand, and maybe a tech wizard can confirm, because when you update your notes app, there are time markers on there, but I'm wondering, because again, I don't know. I don't know if they verified any of that information. One of the other things that we found out yesterday as well in regards to Jane was the fact that Diddy also physically harmed her. That was one of the things that we found out. And because it was something that I had brought up when we were looking at her direct examination, I was like, well, so far, yes, he's been abusive towards her in regards to making her be with other men, but he hadn't been physically abusive to her. She does talk about when the tape came out, she was still dating him. She remembers everyone huddling at his home and trying to figure out, should he put out an apology video? Should he deny the video? She talked about that, but then she also talked about being harmed by him at one particular point when she accused him of being a pedophile. So that, and then he knocked down all kinds of doors in her home. She says to this day, those doors have not been fixed. I don't know why. He had given her money to get them fixed, but I guess she must have used them for other things, the money. So she talked about multiple, and in today's testimony, you will hear her talk more about these interactions with other men. There's a lot that comes out, even including, I'm not sure if it'll be in the summaries, but I did, again, because I'm reading so many different stories, that she at one particular point thought that Diddy might be bisexual. A lot of people have speculated that because you would like to see your women have sex with other men. I think a lot of people have speculated that he might be bisexual, which there's nothing against the law. Hello, it's Pride Month. Don't forget, we are doing our Pride Month fundraiser. 100% of your donation goes to the organization. It'll be along the sides here somewhere. That is not a crime, but it is a crime when you are forcing people to do things that they don't want to do. But again, the defense's defense will be that, no, this was consensual. This is something that you wanted to do. You wanted to make him happy, etc., etc. All right. So Jane told the court that when she read Cassie's lawsuit against Combs, she says, I reacted like I can't believe I'm reading my own story. She said that she fainted about learning about the November 2023 lawsuit. She also said that she confronted Combs in a text around that time saying, I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. In a recorded phone call days after the lawsuit was filed, Combs pleaded for her support, basically manipulating her. Because if she's texting you that I feel like I'm reading my own story, my own trauma, he wants to make her feel bad for him. Saying, I just needed to tell you I need your friendship. You know you ain't got to worry about anything else, baby. Please pray for me, Combs told Jane. I will be praying for you. I need your friendship. Let's get into what Inner City Press is reporting before we get to the summary. But I do want to read what NBC wrote in regards to the mistrial. And this is why I was like, I got to stick with NBC because I was looking at other media outlets that are covering it. And they just said the judge denied the mistrial. But I want to read what NBC wrote. Before we get into that, Inner City Press, they're doing a fantastic job in covering this case. So before they bring the jury in, Inner City Press reports that the judge says, I'm ruling that the government cannot recall Dr. Hughes. That was one of the things that the prosecution wanted. Dr. Hughes, remember, helped all of us, including the jury, understand cycles of abuse and why people stay in these relationships. She testified a couple of weeks ago, and she's testified in a lot of big name cases. And most recently, at least that you'll remember, Johnny Depp and the Amber Heard one. So the judge says, I'm ruling that the government cannot recall Dr. Hughes for more testimony despite the Second Circuit's decision in U.S. versus Larry Ray. The judge says on the rule that Jane's notes reflected alleged fraud to induce her into the hotel nights are admissible. So in regards to the notes app notes that she was writing, despite the defense's argument. So the defense wanted those notes thrown out. I could understand why, to be honest with you, just because the verification of the timeline of it. Combs' attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, Ms. Bogelin said clearly that the balcony incident took place on September 26. We believe she perjured herself and that they knew the government elicited that all injured were at the same time. The judge says, couldn't we just say that the government screwed up? This is what the judge is saying. Giving Miss Westmoreland a rare Perry Mason moment in federal court. That defense back in its war zone could say, great job. Combs' attorney, Shapiro, says she did do a great job, but they had Miss Ventura say she saw it. Shapiro then says, this only our second motion for mistrial. I'm not sure why the government says it's the third. Because you guys have been trying to trigger a mistrial. In my brain, it feels like the third, but maybe this is the second time you filed a motion. But it does feel like you try to trigger a mistrial at the very beginning with Cassie's testimony, and then you try to trigger a mistrial again, it felt like, with Kid Cudi's testimony, with something that you believed that he was about to say, but he didn't say it. So she said, this is only our second motion for mistrial. I'm not sure why the government says it's our third. AUSA says perjury is only one prong of a 4-part test. Judge says, this happened years ago. Ms. Bogelin has taken a lot of drugs. Thank God she's sober. So he's denying the mistrial. AUSA says Mr. Steele also moved for a mistrial, said AUSA. Judge says, well, he said that he was going to move. Come on. Yes. So all of us believe that this is like the third or fourth time that you guys have tried to trigger a mistrial. Combs' attorney says we object to juror 6 being stricken. It's under seal, but judge says everyone will be heard. What about juror 6? Is juror 6 the one that was making the faces? That's interesting. Being stricken, juror number 6. The judge says bring in Jane, then the jury. All rise. Judge says, Miss Garagos. You know this is Mark Garagos' daughter, I believe, right? She says, you may proceed with your cross-examination. He's talking to Miss Garagos. Combs' attorney. I'm not going to keep saying Combs' attorney. I'll indicate where necessary. Jane, we met before. Then you stopped meeting with the defense. That was your choice, right? She says, correct. Because keep in mind, for those that this might be your first time watching the channel and you have no idea what's been playing out. Oh, maybe. Keep in mind, Jane literally was still dating, and I put dating in quotes because the relationship she had with Diddy was not a normal relationship. She was dating Diddy up until he was arrested. She also is her rent is still paid by Diddy. The lawyer representing her is, keep in mind, a lot of these people that are testifying have their own lawyers. Her lawyer is paid by Diddy. So this is why she's bringing it up, Miss Garagos. She says, you are testifying against Mr. Combs. Jane says, I'm testifying against him? Question mark. Garagos says, how many times did they prep you on how to be cross-examined at this trial? She says, maybe 2 or 3 times. Did you bring in other prosecutors to cross you? Yes. And they granted you immunity at the grand jury, right? She says, yes. You said that you had regret about some of the choices you made with Mr. Combs. If you have it, I'd love to look at it with you, Jane said. You chose to participate in that lifestyle for many years, and you did not want to break up with him, right? She says, I did not want to. Garagos says, you had sex with other men for years. She says, I resent the emotional control. I was hooked from the start. There was pressure to perform these acts my lover desired. Garagos says, you used the word partner again and again on direct. He was your partner? She says, yes. You said that you're having trouble answering for yourself why you had sex with these men. She says, yes. You are in therapy now? She says, yes. You love Mr. Combs? I love to spend time with my partner. You wanted to cuddle with him, to give him foot rubs, you said, Jane said. Objection to the counsel making herself a witness, AUSA said. Jane says, I love to bathe him, and we watch his favorite show. Garagos says, which show was that? Dateline. Oh. Did you believe that he was not doing this with anyone else? She says, during this time period, Garagos says, you'd look at his messages, yeah? And she says, yes. Jane says, he was vulnerable in those hotel rooms, and I shared that with him. It was conflicting. I was breaking all of my boundaries so that he would feel loved. Garagos says, this brought you two together? Jane says, yes, the lovemaking afterwards. That's why I enjoyed it. Garagos says, you tried to be very sexy to him in those rooms. Jane says, I think I was sexy in those rooms. Because you are a beautiful woman. Did you choose the wardrobe? She says, initially he did. He liked baby oil. It turned him on. Jane says, yes. Garagos says, how old were you when you started your relationship with Mr. Combs? 35. So this is where she's going to try and, again, take away from what we use as a defense for Cassie. She was young and impressionable, and he manipulated her. So in my impression here, Garagos is trying to say, you're a grown woman. You're damn near 40. Shouldn't you know better? Here's the thing. And I always like to make this in everyday scenario. There are a lot of people that we all know that are in relationships, not like necessarily like this, but abusive relationships. And they're 40 years old, 50 years old. Just want to point that out. Not saying neither here nor there, but pay attention to what she's doing. Jane says 35. Garagos says, what are examples of your fantasy talk in those rooms? Jane says, he would have me and the entertainer be in a role play, cheating role play, that Sean left town. Garagos says, how high were your heels? 6 to 7 inches. Usually I wear 3 to 4 inch heels. You wanted your child to be closer to your child's father, but did your father see the child? Jane says, what does that have to do with this? She's got a point. Garagos says, would you fly weekly to see Mr. Combs? Jane says, sometimes. Garagos says, we listened to 5 voice notes in which Mr. Combs sounded angry, but he'd sent you thousands, right? Jane says, yes. Garagos says, why did you feel he was larger than life? Bright light, she said. Again, we have to remember, this is not an exact transcription. This is Inner City Press trying to get all of this to us in a timely fashion. So there's some misinformation, not misinformation, but some mistakes. Jane says, he introduced me to the gospel. He had a favorite pastor he'd watch on TV. Okay. That is so interesting to me. And it's probably TD Jakes. Combs's attorney Garrigo says, "Has that stayed with you?" Jane says, "Yes." "Do you watch the pastor today?" "Objection sustained." "How much did he invest in your dress line?" She says, $20,000. "Why did you join OnlyFans?" She says, "If I could get off it, I would. Financial need." "Mr. Combs gave you money throughout the relationship in 3.5 years. Does $150,000 sound right?" She says, "I would assume." Garrigo says, "You told the government you gravitate toward providers." Jane says, "Yes. As a woman, I like that." "You called the house our house. Later, I saw it as my house." Garrigo says, "You thought it was important that his staff not know about the entertainers, right?" "Objection," AUSA says. Judge says, "Overruled." Jane says, "Right." Garrigo says, "That's a reason you go to the house. That and a yard for your son." Jane says, "Can you say my child?" Oh, because I guess she doesn't want to identify if that she has a boy or a girl. Oh. Because again, people are trying. I mean, I don't think you really need to. Again, we're not going to speculate on that. But so I had to stop there because it looks as if Inner City Press had some sort of issue today when it comes to reporting back, because that's the last thing that I see on his account. But like I said before, we will go to the summary in regards to, because they are also highlighting different quotes from today's testimony. Look, this is a trial this is the 20th day. Again, if you're covering this story either at the court, in the court, outside the court, here on YouTube, make sure you're taking time for yourselves, because it really is a full-time job covering this story, because there's so much that comes out. There are intense things that might be triggering to the people listening. So those people that are also watching the content, be mindful of that. So I don't know what happened with Inner City Press. I will check back before being done with this video. But as I said before, NBC News has been doing a great job in regards to giving us a summary as well. So in regards to the mistrial, just to backtrack a little bit, so that we have an understanding what happened in court today, because as you know, we had breaking news on Saturday night about the defense team filing a motion for a mistrial. So the defense motion for a mistrial has been denied. That request for a mistrial centered on the testimony of Brianna Bogolan, a friend of Cassie Ventura, who testified that Combs dangled her over a 17-story apartment balcony in Los Angeles in 2016. The defense claimed that Bogolan and Ventura lied about the balcony incident, alleging that the testimony was perjured. The defense said that the Combs was on the East Coast at the time of the alleged incident, staying at the Trump Hotel in New York. While the defense was able to attack Bogolan's testimony, the judge ruled that it was not fodder for a mistrial. The judge said that the defense did not object to her testimony and that they were allowed a vigorous cross-examination. So this is explaining why he decided, no, you could have stopped it then. The judge, Aaron Subramanian, said that the government screwed up, but that wasn't grounds for a mistrial. He noted that Combs' defense attorney, Nicole Westmoreland, had a Perry Mason moment, meaning a dramatic revelation in a courtroom. Ventura mentioned the balcony incident without naming Bogolan in her 2023 lawsuit against Combs. She also testified about it while on the witness stand last month. Key government witness Jane took the witness stand for cross-examination. Combs' attorney, Tenny Garagos, is set to lead the defense's questioning of Jane, who's wearing a brown suit blazer. Combs is wearing a light-colored long-sleeve shirt with black pants. Sidebar, Diddy was very concerned. We didn't talk about this before. Diddy allegedly, I'll say, approached one of the sketch artists and said, "Stop making me look like a koala bear." You are worried about the wrong things. Why do you even see these sketches? Why are you even concerned? Stop making me look like a koala bear. That's what the people are saying you look like. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos pushed Jane on her lack of interest in cooperating with the government when agents first raided Combs' residence in March of last year. Remember, she still was in a relationship with Diddy. Jane testified under cross-examination that when Homeland Security investigation agents arrived at her home, she wanted nothing to do with them. She had a choice to speak to them, and she chose to get an attorney paid for by Combs, she told the court. After Combs's arrest, Jane confirmed that she met with a grand jury after the government granted her immunity. Asked if she loves Combs currently, Jane told the court that she does. Under cross-examination, Jane confirmed that she wanted to be close to her partner. Jane testified that she liked to take care of him after hotel nights and called out Dateline as one of his favorite shows. Jane told the court that she felt as if her partner was trusting her in a vulnerable moment. She was made to believe it was special and didn't want to judge him. Sounds like just manipulation. Combs' offers of love and affection were the only reason Jane said that she would enjoy hotel nights, which is the phrase she used for nights Combs would watch her have sex with other people. She told the court that she felt trusted by Combs in those vulnerable moments, saying that she was breaking all of my own boundaries to make him feel loved, even as it became hard for her. Jane said that she wanted Combs to be satisfied. The witness said that she fell in love with Combs but didn't understand what conditions would come with that relationship. He introduced me to this lifestyle under a lot of emotional pressure, Jane said. I was so hooked from the beginning on the love and affection. I fell in love with him and I didn't understand the terms of the relationship. She came to understand that having freak off sex with strange men might have been part of the deal. It was along the lines of love and pressure to these things he desired and wanted to fulfill my duties as a girlfriend. Jane told the court that Combs had a big personality and was very sure of himself, which she felt was unique. Jane described why she felt Combs was larger than life. She said that Combs offered highly motivational speeches to encourage her, which helped her feel more confident. Jane testified that she used to be shy and still struggles with self-esteem issues, which might explain why she would be easily manipulated into this relationship. Jane said that Combs introduced her to gospel music and had insightful conversations on his spirituality. The chats brought a really good perspective on a lot of things, the witness said. He had a favorite pastor and he would put sermons on TV and we would watch it together. And he would send me sermons and I would watch it on my own. Here's the thing. When we had a conversation with Los Angeles prosecutor Kirsten Brown, she talked about, despite abusers having this relationship with the person that they were abusing, there are people, plenty of other people that see a completely different side to this person, including the person being abused. They would see these other big, beautiful moments and they would rationalize those big, beautiful moments as worth it to stay in that relationship and in that abusive cycle. Under cross-examination, Jane testified to how much Combs spent supporting her financially, agreeing that Combs wired her around $150,000 during their relationship. Combs' attorney, Tenny Garagos, asked Jane whether she gravitated toward providers. Jane responded that she ideally wanted someone who is a partner and provider. Prior to meeting Combs, Jane said that she was making about $50,000 as an influencer in addition to receiving child support. Combs said that he enjoyed being with Jane. Combs said that he enjoyed being with Jane and gave her an edgy nickname to go with those good times. According to a text message shown in court, they had just returned from Turks and Caicos in 2023 when Combs reflected on their fun trip. Get your rest. You are the crack pipe. That's my name for you, crack pipe. I'm going to call you crack pipe. A very good time together, he said in a 2023 voicemail played in court. Jane testified that there were times when Combs used paying her rent as a tool, saying that it was something of a reminder. She recalled one argument when she was depressed over hotel nights and hit a wall when she was on the phone call with Combs. She testified that Combs asked about her needing 3 months' rent. Jane told the court that it didn't feel genuine and they exchanged nasty text messages, one of which included her saying that she's not either of his exes. Combs' attorney asked whether Combs sent Jane $20,000 unsolicited, which Jane confirmed. Jane told the court that she was aware that Combs was polyamorous and seeing multiple women, and that at first it wasn't something that she minded. But as emotions grew deeper, she testified the imbalance became difficult to handle. Jane said the relationship looked monogamous, even if it wasn't in reality, which she was not okay with. She agreed that it hurt her feelings that he was easily able to shift to another woman. Jane used colorful language when referring to another woman he was dating, she said. But mind you, when we talked about this yesterday and the possibility of her talking to someone else infuriated him. So this polyamorous relationship was one-sided. It didn't seem like she could be dating other people. We saw the same thing with Cassie Ventura as well. God forbid she decided to move on with Kid Cudi. He wasn't trying to hear it. Okay. Combs' heavy use of drugs and alcohol worried Jane, who said that during a trip to Turks and Caicos, she felt like the music mogul had jaundice, graying gums, and shaking hands. We're talking about years of him doing drugs. Jane said that she wanted Combs to go to rehab clinic in Thailand. I'm sure he wishes he went now too. Just saying. When I say that, meaning that he could escape the government and what's going on now, he probably would have never come back. When Combs' defense attorney, Tenny Garagos, asked Jane if she believed Combs was an addict, the witness said, "I felt like he was overdoing the partying." Okay, so she didn't think he was an addict, but again, she only knew him in this segment of his life. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos asked Jane whether Combs was driven by his desires, and her love for Combs drove her during hotel nights. Yes, Jane responded. Jane testified that she told Combs multiple times that she didn't feel comfortable engaging in hotel nights as times passed. She also testified under cross-examination that she loved the attention and affection Combs would give her during those nights. Jane testified that she came to understand that Combs' desire to see her having intercourse with another man was an exercise of sexual curiosity, saying, "I was trying to figure out the relationship and I came upon the word cuckold, a man turned on by watching his woman having sex with another man," Jane told the court. "I just wanted to know what was driving him." Jane said that she believed that it could have been an interest in bisexuality, but Combs might have been too scared to do the act himself, making these freak offs the next closest alternative. And honestly, if we were to sort of break down some of this, if we wanted to, with her talking about him being so spiritual and sending her sermons, he probably had this internal conflict. And I know you're probably thinking, in 2025, you're a music industry, you're so successful, you couldn't just come out and be bisexual. We got to remember, he's a man of a particular age. He's talking about being in religion, and in this particular religion that's saying that is completely wrong. There are still people that struggle with their sexuality as we speak. There have been different examples ever since all this stuff has popped off. People have brought up so many different examples of how Diddy acts around other men with some of the language that he uses. And you're like, that's a little sus. Jane testified that ecstasy greatly helped her and Combs focus on sexual energy. He was just happy, charismatic, good energy, a sexual high, she said. Before ecstasy, he was agitated and stressed from the day. After, he would be happy in a good mood, which is probably why he ended up getting hooked on it, because he always wanted to feel like that. Combs called his end of the week partying a F It Friday celebration, Jane said. It's when he let loose and want to party really hard, she said. Jane testified that Combs' chief of staff, Christina Currams, name being mentioned yet again, spoke to her on the phone on at least one occasion when Jane transported drugs for Combs. Okay. Text message exchanges were shared between Coram and Jane. So she's going to need immunity. I would be shocked. I know I keep saying this every time we talk about this, that KK does not testify. Text messages exchanges were shared between Coram and Jane, where the women were coordinating travel arrangements. Jane also said that the two spoke on the phone, which was not their standard method of communication. Jane also testified that communication with Coram was a point of contention for her while she dated Combs. Coram, or KK, was always with Combs, and it became a difficult part of Jane's relationship with Combs, she said. Jane told the court Coram had strong feelings about Jane that would influence how Combs treated her. This is why I say Christina Curram's testimony is going to be critical in this case, because not only is she involved in the day-to-day, she's intimately involved in everything. So she has a lot of exposure. I know she's definitely, if the other assistants wanted immunity, she's definitely going to want immunity because she's also facing civil lawsuits that are accusing her of behavior. And it makes me wonder if she testifies in this case, will this open her up to the civil lawsuits? Jane testified that she invoked the names of two all time basketball greats to describe her sex life with Combs and someone named Paul. I saw this earlier today. I was like, why are we bringing up Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant? May he rest in peace. So she testified that she invoked the names of two all time basketball greats to describe her sex life with Combs and someone named Paul. The three of them were the trifecta, Jane said, with a nod to the Hall of Fame hoopsters. I was like Kobe Bryant and Paul was Shaquille O'Neal. Jane said. Combs was Michael Jordan. This is a reminder, again, no speculating on Jane's identity in the chat or the comment section. We are going to give a zero tolerance to anyone that's speculating on the identity. You will be blocked from the channel. Also a reminder, don't forget to like this video. We have so many of you that end up watching these videos either in the live chat or in the replay of this video, and you're not liking the video. Liking the video is easy and free. I won't know that you liked it. If you're watching to garner information for your own channel, that's fine. Cite your source, but you don't have to. At least like the video, support the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, join the community. We're giving you daily updates, and you never know when we go live like we did over the weekend. If you're not subscribed, you're missing out on those lives. Do not rely on an algorithm to keep you up to date on what's going on. And don't forget, you can get these updates on the podcast as well. Sometimes that's your preferred way. Maybe you want to download it and take us on the go while you're commuting or traveling. Subscribe to the Kempire podcast today. And while you're there, do us a favor and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Shout out to our Spotify community. I'm seeing your comments. I'm replying to some of them if I can keep up. Our Spotify community is growing and growing, so we appreciate you guys as well. And don't forget this month, especially when we're talking about these issues of DV, the center, the LGBT center here in New York City, we are raising $3,000 yet again this year for Pride Month. Happy Pride, but help us get to our goal. We have over 1,000. We reached over 1,000 yesterday. Donate what you can. Share this video. Share any of our videos. And let other people donate, spread the word, help us reach our goal. We only have 20-something days. June is only 30 days. Today's the 10th. We have 20 days. 20 days until this is over. So I would like to raise $5,000. I keep saying that because I would like to get to 3,000 by the end of this week. I don't see why we couldn't. Thousands of you watch the channel. So if everyone donated $1, we could definitely reach our goal of 5,000. But I said, let me start small. Again, for everything Kempire, including our merch, our Juneteenth merch, our Pride merch, or just merch in general, will be available in the description and everything Kempire as well. Let's get back into what NBC is reporting. Let me just double check to see if our friends over at NBC, I hope everything's good with him in regards to this, because that's unusual. And maybe he has some tech issues today, guys, which is okay. It happens. It happens. But at least we still have a summary. Shout out to everyone that's still in the court. The defense is going to go over text messages and voice notes that Jane sent to Combs, where she engaged in, quote, fantasy talk that appeared to show her willingness for sexually explicit activities. Some of the messages include Jane describing what she would like to do to specific S workers who were hired for hotel nights or discussing the planning of hotel nights. Jane testified that she gave Combs options on things that he wanted to hear. She told the court that these were things that wouldn't have occurred to her to do, but knew Combs would like to do them. Jane and defense lawyer Tenny Geragos exchanged some pointed words about handbags and sex during cross-examination. Geragos insinuated that the witness was consensually having sex with other men, gladly accepting designer bags. Again, this is their job. The defense has to paint the picture like, you like this. You were consenting to this. You like the lifestyle. You were getting bags. You were getting flown out. You were doing this. You like this. Jane responded, no, I got trauma, after Geragos questioned if she didn't get anything. The defense lawyer also asked the witness if she knew what a bottega bag was. And Jane responded, I'm sure you have one. Oh, okay. Things are getting heated in court. Garagos also asked how much a bottega bag costs, to which Jane responded, how much does my body cost? Oh, okay. Jane asked for a break shortly after the exchange. Okay. All right. So the jury was dismissed for the day. So that feels like it was a short day today. And the jury has been dismissed for the day with instructions that the court will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So they're starting pretty late tomorrow. So this should be interesting. I'm sure there's some things that, because remember, one of the issues that Diddy's attorneys have been having was with being able to meet with him with enough time, despite the rules of the prison. So that might be part of the reason why they're meeting later, which is fine, but we shall see. Moving on from there, guys, just a reminder, don't forget to like this video. We're going to continue to give you your updates on the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Luckily, today was a little bit shorter than normal. Usually we are reading transcripts, which usually makes the day pretty long, which is fine. It's fine that we all get a little bit of a break today. But that is your update in regards to Jane's testimony. They're suspecting that Jane will be testifying until at least Thursday. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so I wouldn't be surprised at that. Based on what you've seen so far, though, what do you think is happening here? What do you think will happen when the jury decides to deliberate? We have to remember, the jury has to go by certain guidelines. And I saw that defense admitted, and I don't know if the judge has weighed in on whether or not this will be included, but they filed documents for stipulations that they would like the jury to consider when deciding whether he's guilty or not. And one thing I didn't mention or even think about, and I want to ask Kirsten Brown about this, and because we talked about the statute of limitations when it comes to the DV of it all. And there are statute of limitations. I didn't think about the statute of limitations when it comes to RICO, because there are statutes of limitations for when it comes to RICO, which the jury will have to consider. Wow. So let's get back into the comment section. Replay crew, be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on today's Diddy trial updates. Thank you to our King's Guards for holding us down in the live chat and in the comment section. Thank you to our channel members, our subscribers, and those of you watching in the bushes. Be sure to like the video on your way out. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload, and subscribe to the Kempire podcast for your daily Diddy updates as well, along with additional content. I will see you guys in the next one, and thank you all for watching and for listening.
Here we go now.